Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video we're going to show you how to change out the Samsung dryer thermal fuse. It's going to be a very easy repair and should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new thermal fuse. The thermal fuse is a safety device in the dryer. The main reason to be changing it out is if it's failed and the dryer is not heating. In order to get to the part, we have to take the dryer apart, so we're going to use our Phillips screwdriver and go around back to remove the screws. Now that we have the screws out, we can remove the top. All you have to do is pull the top back, so a couple inches so it gets free of the brackets, and then you can lift it off and set it aside. Now that we have the top off, we can take the control panel off. There's a few locking tabs across the back. We're going to lift up on them to release them and then lift the panel forward. Once you have them all released, you can lift the panel off, and we're just going to set it on the top so it's out of the way. We can open up the dryer door, and we need to remove these two screws at the bottom. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to take them out. Now that we have those two screws removed, we can close the dryer door and remove the upper four screws. Now that we have the four screws removed, we can pull a panel forward just far enough so we have access to the door switch. If these two tabs right here are holding your panel on, you may have to lift it up a little bit and then pull it out. Once you have the panel released, you can close the door again, and then we're just going to drop it forward enough so you can reach in and pull off the wire harness. There's no locking tab or anything on this one, so all you have to do is pull it off and let it set out of the way. Then we can lift the front panel off the three mounting brackets on the bottom of the dryer. Once you have it off, you can set it aside. Now that we have the front panel off the dryer, we can take the heater element assembly out. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the moisture sensor. We don't want this wire harness to get tangled up when we're taking it out, so we're just going to disconnect it and lay it out of the way. Once you have that disconnected, we can use our Phillips screwdriver to remove these three screws that hold the heater element in. Alright, to get the heater assembly out, we're going to have to remove this lower bracket. So we're going to lift this up, and there's a locking tab right here on the front that we have to lift up, and then there's two locking tabs on the back. So we're going to carefully lift up the element and pull this front one out, and then reach in and just lift the bracket up a little bit and pull it out. Once you have it out, you can lower the heating element assembly down and very carefully pull it out of the duct in the back and guide it out this opening. And make sure this wire harness comes out from below the lint screen duct. Now that we have the assembly out, we're going to carefully set it down. We have access to the thermal fuse. We're going to use a small flathead screwdriver to take the wires off. Get the blue on the inside and the black on the outside. Once you have the wires off, you can see that the thermal fuse is riveted onto this bracket. So we're going to take the bracket off so we can drill the rivets out. You don't want to do it on the element and risk getting metal flakes down inside the element. Once you have both screws out, you can lift the thermal fuse in the bracket off the assembly. In order to drill out the rivets, we're going to put the bracket in a vise so we can hold it. Once you have it tightened down, we're going to grab the drill and a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill the rivets out. Once you have them both drilled out, you can separate the thermal fuse from the bracket. Here's the old thermal fuse next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. To put the new thermal fuse on the bracket, we're going to set it into place. Then we're going to use a couple rivets to secure it. We're going to put the rivet into the pop gun, and we can put it through both brackets and squeeze it. Once you have the first one done, we can do the one on the other side. Now that we have the thermal fuse mounted onto the bracket, we can put the assembly back onto the heater housing. To mount it onto the housing, we're just going to set it in place and line up the holes. And we can use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Once you have the screws tightened down, we can put the wires on. Remember, the black wire was towards the front, and the blue was towards the back. Once you have them on and secure, we can put the assembly back into the dryer. We'll carefully turn it around and feed it in there. And you're going to have to look inside and make sure you get it up into the ductwork. Once you have it in place, it'll stand there like that. And remember, we have to put the lower bracket back on. So there's these two holes right here that we have to put these two tabs in. It's going to be a little awkward, but you got to get in here and lift up on the heating element and get the bracket underneath. Once you have those tabs in the slots, we're going to lower the bracket down and make sure that this tab goes in its slot right there, and then set the element on top of the bracket. Once you have everything back in place, we can put in the 3 screws that hold it all in. First, we're going to put the element screw in, and then the 2 base screws. Once you have the element secure, we can reattach the moisture sensor wiring harness. All you have to do is grab both ends and plug them back together. Make sure they snap together so you get a good connection. Once you have that reconnected, we can put the rest of the dryer back together. Now we can put the front panel on the dryer. We're going to put it on the same way we took it off by setting onto the 3 brackets across the bottom. Once you have it in place, we can lift it up so we can reconnect the door switch. To reconnect the door switch, there's no locking tab or anything on it, but you want to put this little notch right with this notch right here, and then push it all the way in so you get a good connection. Lift the front panel back up into place and make sure that little tab goes on there. With the front panel back in place, we can put these upper screws back in. We're going to use our Phillips screwdriver to put them back in. Now that we have the 4 top screws on, we can open up the door and replace the 2 screws that hold the front panel to the lint screen housing. Once you have those 2 in, we can close the dryer door, and then we can go put the console back on. To put the console back on, there are these little tabs across the bottom, and we have to line them up with the little openings on the front panel. So at not too much of an angle, but a little bit, you want to lower this down so those tabs go in, and then rotate it back so it snaps into place. And then once you have them all in, we can push it up and lock those tabs in that we took off earlier. Once you have that snapped into place, we can put the top back on. To put the top back on, we're going to set it down on top of the frame, and then we're going to push it forward so the lip right here goes underneath that bracket. Once you have it in and lined up, you can push it forward, and then we can use our Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Now that we have the top back on, we can plug the dryer back in and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.